Hello and welcome. My name is Carl. I'm 2 Echo Zero Echo Zulu Tango. For those people who are new to the channel, I'm a amateur radio operator in the UK. I'm a intermediate level operator, which means that I'm halfway between the basic license and the full license. So I'm currently learning to get ready for the advanced licensed exam, the full license exam. So I'm hoping that during this next, 8 to 12 months, I should have progressed enough on the theory side of things to actually apply for the license. And by doing that, it gives me the ability to do more with the hobby and to use a few more different bands and frequencies, and also to use different levels of power as well if needed. So in the UK, very much like most countries, there are different levels to the licensing conditions, and you have to pass tests to go for those license conditions. So what I wanted to do is actually over the next number of videos, whether I'm operating indoors, outdoors, whether I'm building equipment, I'm going to try and weave into the videos some sort of connection back to the theory, so in some way hoping to document my understanding of the theory and how that relates to practice, how that relates to actually the doing of the hobby. And hopefully we've got quite a number of very respectful and knowledgeable people on the channel who I've added lots of comments in the past. So I'm hoping by my exploration, my thinking, my just going over stuff, that in the comments we can continue to nudge me one direction and the other way, sharing some advice, even correcting me where I go wrong. So in some ways this becomes an educational exploration as well. So what I wanted to do in this video is just look at the different areas in the full license that I need to cover, and then try and relate that to day-to-day operating of the radio. So different people have different ways of learning. Some people learn by reading and remembering, and just then when they get to do a test, then from memory they can answer the questions. For me, I'm one of those learners that I learn from doing, reading and doing, and trying to relate the theory to some sort of visual practical reference. So I much prefer to read the theory but then try and find a way of relating it to living it. What I try to do is look at the theory and relate that to what I'm actually doing, or what I'm building, or visualizing. So for example, I'm just going to use this other camera. So in the UK full license, we cover the licensing conditions, an update on operating techniques, obviously some safety features. There's also, because there's much more calculations going on in the full license, there's how to use the scientific calculators. It's some more basic electronics, but this expands on the basic electronics that we did in the foundation and intermediate level. There's semiconductors and valves. Then there's a breakdown looking at the transmitter, importantly looking at transmitter interference, and then looking at the receiver side of a transceiver, and then we go into feeders and antennas, propagation, electromagnetic compatibility, and then especially this if you're building your own equipment, and then the different forms of measurements. So there's going to be in here, there's certain sections that I would say that I know better than others, because of the experience that you gain being the foundation and intermediate operator. So there are some areas in here that I'm weaker than others. So what I want to be able to do is, I'll just give you an example. Okay, so when we look at feeders and antennas, because that's an area that I've been enjoying in the hobby, building antennas and understanding how all of the feeders and antennas work. So for me, I'm probably stronger in that area. Propagation, I really enjoy the science behind propagation. I've got a couple of books that I've read through and lots of videos. So I've got some decent knowledge on propagation, feeders and antennas. Transmitter interference, I know a little bit about that. You have to know a bit about that if you're operating in the sort of tighter conditions that we do in living in these houses that where we live now. Also, the areas where I'm weaker on are semiconductors and valves, basic electronics. I've got a love-hate relationship with electronics. I really enjoy the idea of learning about basic electronics, but when it comes down to breaking that down into really in-depth detail, I tend to glaze over. So basic electronics is an area that I need to understand more. So what I want to do is actually find a way of relating basic electronics, maybe semiconductors and valves, but let's just look at basic electronics. And I'm going to start to try, together it would be good if we can start to find a way for me to relate the electronics bit or circuits with day-to-day operating a radio. So if I just jump to that section, okay, what I have noticed about the basic electronics, once we start to move away from capacitors and diodes and the different types of components, resistors, diodes, capacitors, I sort of get some of that, to a point. Obviously I need to do much more to dive into some of the way that it's all calculated and get a working theory of that type of circuitry. However, what I have noticed is that my interest in antennas and antenna theory is basically it relates very heavily to circuit design. So when we look at inductance and reactance and the LR circuits, if we look at things like inductive reactance, phasor, there's so much coupling and decoupling, blocking. There's a lot in here that I think that I can relate to antenna design, the way that we actually look at, because an antenna, when you plug it into a radio, is part of a circuit. In my head, that is. And the way that the electromagnetic waves work and reactance works and all that kind of stuff, there's a relationship there as well. So I think that for me, I'm going to try and find a way of relating some of the stuff in here about basic electronics. I'm going to try and connect that together with the antenna theory. So hopefully, even though I might not score very heavily on the some of the electronic theory, some of the calculations in here, I may just get enough points from that by strengthening up my knowledge of antenna theory as well. So that's my thinking for the moment to do with the basic electronics side of things. Obviously, it's really important to understand how transformers work. So I think this is an area that, because it's such an important safety feature of running a good station, and understanding how currents work, I think from a practical safety point of view, understanding how transformers work is a key factor as well. So this is just a very sort of basic overview of the different sections of the full license and how I'm going to try and approach that. So I'm hoping that in the videos, if I'm talking about a certain part of a setup or something that I'm doing or something that I'm building, I'm going to try and think, how does that relate back to the theory? Get the theory book out and share that with you as well. So if you've got any other ideas of how you got through this understanding of this, it's a higher level here. There's no getting away with it. That's the level of theory and the knowledge that you need for the full license is exciting. It's a challenge, and I'm more than happy for people to share how they got through it as well. So this is it. This is the beginning of the next step, and hopefully we'll capture that on YouTube, and we'll see the transition from the M6 days to the TV0 days, and hopefully to the whatever it's going to be. Is it M0 now? So yep, happy days. Please give me a thumbs up if you agree. If you think this is a good way to go about things, drop any comments in. Always welcome, the comments are. And if you've not yet subscribed and you think that this is an interesting addition to the portable radio, because predominantly the channel is about getting out with the radio, getting into woodlands and up high and portable, overnight camping, wild camping, operating radio in those conditions. To be able to operate amateur radio, whether it's just for safety, security, you need the license, and you need to be operating the radio safely and efficiently as well. So the theory side is absolutely paramount to actually enjoying the radio and getting the most from it. So I'm going to try and mix in the channel, as well as getting outdoors, as well as playing radio. I'm going to try and mix in some of the theory as well, as I'm starting to understand it. So okay, that's it for now, and hope you enjoyed this one, and look forward to the next one. Okay, bye bye.